Hey, welcome back to the Big Rand Show. As always, thank you for joining me. If you could, hit the subscribe button down below. Let's get right to it. Now, I've made a lot of videos over food stamps and other welfare programs, but today we're going to focus on SNAP, also known as food stamp fraud. SNAP and food stamp fraud is an issue that I think we need to deal with. We need to explain the facts of what's actually going on and stop with the disinformation. Now, the information I'm going to bring you today comes from an article from Forbes, so no left-wing rag here. We got ourselves at least a center-right, if not far-right, when it comes to fiscal policy publication here. And so we're going to talk about the numbers that they've come up with through their investigations. A lot of these numbers are based off of government numbers given to them that they were able to find from the Department of Agriculture. And so they're really pretty factual. Now, there's been some arguments by people in the comments below some of my food stamp videos telling me that my belief in a 3% total of fraud is incorrect. It can't be possible because they know people or have seen people commit food stamp fraud. Just because you have anecdotal evidence doesn't change the facts. So let's get into the numbers and see what these facts are. So, what is SNAP fraud? USDA defines that as fraud is typically defined as an exchange of benefits for cash or other ineligible items, known as trafficking, or purposely misrepresenting information on your SNAP application in order to receive benefits you are not entitled to or more benefits than you are entitled to receive. Now let's make a little backstory here. In this article, they discussed the fact that there was a huge increase, a roughly 61% increase from 2012 to 2016 in the cash number of food stamp fraud. Okay? In 2012, that number was 367.1 million. By 2016, that number was 592 million.7. Now, that's, like I said, a 61% increase. And that is not good, right? We need to be bringing that number down. It should not be going up. We need to do more to bring that down. So, I will say that if you see something, you should report something. If you know people selling their food stamps, you should report them to the department in your state that issues the food stamps. It's just that simple. Also, in this thing is, in 2016, the number of fraud investigations totaled almost 1,963,965. That's up more than 30% from 2012, according to this article. So not only were we investigating more in 2016, there were more investigations done, and that could also explain why the percentage increases as well as the money increased, is we are focusing more on food stamp fraud, which is what we need to do. We need to focus on those committing fraud and not those that need the help. What's interesting about these numbers, though, according to the article from Forbes, is that from 2016 back to 2012, there was a 5% drop in the number of people on the program. In 2012, there were 46.6 million Americans, roughly 47 million Americans, on food stamps, according to government data. In 2016, that total was 44.2 million. So as more people were getting caught for fraud or investigated for fraud in 2016, also there were fewer people on the program. So you'd expect that to be, you kind of expect it to be opposite, but it seems as if as the benefits were getting smaller and the people were no longer being eligible for the program, more people were committing fraud. And unfortunately, it's a problem. But I don't believe it's the problem that people make it out to be. The Forbes article even says so, under their heading of, "Should taxpayers be worried?" Let me read this little paragraph to you from the article. If you are concerned, then consider the following. The total cost of SNAP benefits disbursed in 2016 was a total of $66.5 billion. That is down from $74.6 billion in 2012. And they go on to say those numbers are significant because America is a big country. 320 million plus Americans and some 44 million people on food stamps. Now they go on to say, as compared to the total figures, the fraud identified, as in what the article is talking about, fraud that has been identified. In 2016, the number was 0.9%. That is up slightly from 0.5% in 2012. So there's your number. Your number of identified fraud in the program is roughly 0.9%. Just under 1%. So if you were to take the other people that you see supposedly committing these frauds, that number would probably be a little higher, right? You would extrapolate that to roughly 3 or 4%. I mean, that would only make sense to me, right? Now, there are other problems that they bring up in the program. They believe, Forbes believes it creates a system of dependence and prevents you from being able to move on. Well, I have to disagree in a lot of ways because my wife got a job, boom, we were off the program, and we haven't gone back. So it doesn't really create dependence. Now, I'm sure that happens for some people. I know some people, though, need the system more than others. Elderly and disabled people who can't work need the help more than others do. But as you see, I'm not lying to you about the numbers. You can sit there and hate on me all you want in the comments, but there you go. The number of known in 2016 of identified food stamp fraud cases was 0.9%. Now, I believe we need to do more to go after food stamp fraud. We need to make sure people aren't selling their benefits. We need to ensure that whenever somebody takes a food stamp card, that an ID is shown, right? Or that a letter is written with that person's ID, where the person has given somebody permission to get their food and sent their ID. I believe that's something we need to do. You can't just be using food stamps. It's like you shouldn't just let anybody use a credit card without checking ID. So there's always a way to do that, right? There's always a way. And so we need to do more to prevent people from defrauding the system. If you see something, say something. And really, that's all I got for you. This has been The Big Ranch Show. I've been your host, Jacob Keck, and I'll see you down the road.